you love movies and movie discussions, you've come to the right place. Who am I, you ask? I am The Wiz, and I'm here today with...
Kim Shactman.
Shactman, how you doing today?
Good. Excited for today's review.
Yeah? Really? Why's that? Any reason?
A little birdie told me that they enjoyed it.
Yeah. Oh. See, you save that for the review. This is. You do not know how this works. I introduce you, then the movie,
who said that?
and
Who
then
the-
that was before it recorded. God. Okay. Let's calm down. We are here to review the 1982 Amy Heckerling film Fast Times at Ridgemont High, starring Sean Penn, Jason Leigh, Judge Reinhold, and Phoebe Cates. Kim, when was the first time you heard about this film?
I feel like it's always been talked about, like, throughout my life. I just never seen it. I just never took the time to watch it. I mean, it's from the 80s.
Yes.
And I was born in 85. It came out in 82. So, I heard of it, but it wasn't really popular for my generation.
Yeah, it was
like I had just missed it.
Right. This was made before I was born as well. I'm 82, but this was, I think, a few months before I was born. This is not a film that I heard around in high school. I heard about a lot of Dazed and Confused. I heard a lot of The Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
And then the movies of our times, like 10 Things I Hate About You, She's All That. So, those are the ones I kept hearing.
Those were definitely 100% our generation. So when you say it that way, probably like when I got into my 20s.
Right.
When I really started hearing kind of about it. It almost was like kind of coming around full circle.
I heard more about this film when Sean Penn started racking up Oscar nominations and then Oscar wins. Because the discourse was, man, this guy went from being Jeff Spicoli to being a 2-time Oscar winner. That's where I was like, what's Jeff Spicoli? And then someone pointed out, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, where he played a stoner surfer. I'm like, really? It's like he played a stoner? Even in his younger days, Sean Penn was always a serious actor. But I guess this is the one role that he did that was just pure comedy. Well, he probably did a few others. But the other roles that he has done moving forward have always been very serious. The other question I have before we get into review is, this was written by Cameron Crowe. Do you know who that is?
No.
He wrote and directed your favorite movie of all time.
Elizabethtown?
Yep, he did.
Oh.
Yeah.
Shows how much I pay attention.
That's okay. Whatever. It's nerds like me that have to do the heavy lifting.
Yeah, you have to just tell me. Exactly. Educate me.
Right.
And that's why I'm here.
This is based off of a book he wrote. And this is, I think...
Yes, I saw. I was like, oh, cool, book. Now I'm like, should I read the book?
Right, and I think this is the first screenplay he wrote. I was going to see if you caught some things that maybe you caught in, like, Elizabethtown, but maybe not.
No, I think that this is maybe a little bit, now that you say that.
Okay.
But it just didn't dawn on me.
All right. So let's get into the review of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, directed by Amy Heckerling. Kim, why don't we go ahead with your opinion on this? What were your feelings about this movie?
I did thoroughly enjoy it, but I was like kind of on the edge with if I actually enjoyed it or if I liked the idea of it. Okay. I don't know. Like, it was weird. Like it definitely made me think like, okay, this is how a high school would act in the 80s. But then at the same time, like, I don't know how a high school would be in the 80s, right? So it was very entertaining. I thought it was cute. I actually personally thought it was interesting that they had Sean Penn as like one of the starring roles because I didn't think he was like in it that much.
Well, he's in the marketing mostly now, like because I think that's also because a lot of the younger set of people who watch this movie, I think, will gravitate towards him because he's the funniest part about the movie. He's actually probably the one that really grabs the attention. He does all the stupid kind of comedy
he's
stuff.
Supposed to be like I get it. But like I truly think like Jason Leigh like was it for me. Like she was really good in this film.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, overall, I definitely enjoyed it. I don't know. Like, I was questioning it. I don't know why I was questioning it. I'm still trying to figure that out. I was just like, how does this compare to kind of like other rom-coms I've seen? And it didn't lie flat for me. I guess I don't know why I enjoyed it.
I don't know if it's a rom-com. I think comparing to rom-coms, I think might be the wrong comparison on this one. But let me ask you. You said that you don't know whether you like the idea of it or you like the movie. What are the ideas that you liked from it that this was espousing?
I mean, I liked the fact that like it does cover some interesting topics when it comes to, you know, high schoolers and like sex and relationships or lack thereof, and like your first time. And then like there were some other, you know, items that we'll get into with spoilers that occurred that, you know, high schoolers do experience, I guess you could say. And then, you know, working and trying to get your dream car and things like that. I mean, I guess I enjoyed like the idea of that. I don't know, like I think it just bothered me that I know that Sean Penn was the comedian in this, and that's why he kind of starred in it. But like, I don't know. I was just like it took me a little bit. I'm like, which one is Sean Penn? And then he finally came into the scenes, and I was like, he's not even in the movie that much.
Well,
and that's what bothered me, I think.
But you got to also understand, too, that I think the problem that you're having is the marketing dictates everything about this movie is about Sean Penn. It's
and that's what, I guess maybe that's what maybe that's what's bothering me.
But Sean Penn, right now, I would say, of any of the actors in this, is probably the most famous out of any of them, most celebrated.
Yeah, now.
But you still have to sell those copies. So the only way to do that is if you had Jennifer Jason Leigh on the cover, it would be really hard to actually do that. And the only other person I can think of right now that you could have on that cover to really show people, oh, that's Fast Times, is Phoebe Cates. But you would have to have that specific scene to have with Phoebe Cates in it to do that. And I don't know how much these stores would appreciate that scene being the cover of the movie. So do you know which scene I'm talking about? The
when
pool
she comes out of the pool?
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
I really liked, how do you say his name? Robert Romanus?
Yes.
I liked him in this film. I thought he was, he caught my eye more than Sean Penn.
Yeah, Robert Romanus is pretty good at this movie. I think the performances all across the board are very good.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think Sean Penn was bad. I guess, I think that's what you're pulling out of me right now for this review is, maybe the marketing kind of fooled me a little bit.
Well, that's common, especially with older movies, especially when someone who wasn't a principal actor turns out to be the biggest star from this movie.
Yeah.
They do this a lot in older movies, and they market it that way. There are certain movies where literally a actor is in there for 3 minutes, and he's the most prominent thing in the cover because he's in this movie, and he is the most popular actor right now, but he stars in it, so technically he can be in there. That's kind of how the marketing goes in those, and that kind of
that's
sense.
Good for me to know because, I guess I just didn't realize that.
That's okay.
And that's what was bothering me. So, was this Sean Penn? This wasn't Sean Penn's first movie, was it?
I think he did a few before that.
Okay,
I don't think it's because I was
first. Because I guess I could understand if it was one of their first and they were trying to really promote him, you know what I mean? Then I would get it.
No,
a new actor coming on the scene, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think no, he was in some other movies before. He was in Taps. Yeah, that's right. Taps was the first movie he was in.
Yeah, I'm looking real quick.
Yeah, so it's his second movie. So he was still on the rise.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Well, actually, he is on the posters for this as well, right?
He's all over it.
Wow. Okay, good point.
He's front and center. That's why I was
Well, again, you have to still remember that posters are made to sell the movie, and if this is a movie about
it is
teens,
in the 80s, and it's all about. He's the biggest stoner in the whole movie. So I guess the 80s, there was a lot of marijuana being smoked.
I guess so.
I guess maybe that's why. And they were like, oh, a movie about a stoner? Let's watch it. Kids in the 80s.
Right. And then they come in and go, that's not about stoners.
Yeah.
What is this?
There's only a little piece of that, but I still like it. Type of deal. Okay, so that makes sense.
Okay, so performances. I think all the performances are great in this movie, all across the board.
Me too.
I want to actually give more of a shout out to Jennifer Jason Leigh in this. I
thought she was awesome.
She was really
so good in this film. Yeah.
And another one for Brian Backer. I think the thing about this movie that I really like with the performances, there are reasons not to like what these characters do, but none of the characters are portrayed as unlikable. Like they're
that's exactly how I felt.
Yeah, there's a reason why they act the way they do, and yes, you can wash it away saying they're teenagers, which sure, but with that wash away still there is still other reasons why they're that way, and it comes off really well in the performances in this. I mean, Jennifer Jason Leigh as well. Like, I think the one thing I really like about this movie, and I mean really like about this movie, is that it throws away the tropes that most of these teen movies have. For example, everyone's horny in this film. Everyone wants sex. Everyone wants to get laid. But you cannot call any of them sluts or any of them like degenerates who are like nymphomaniacs. Not only it's realistic in the way it portrays
trashy, like there's no you know what I mean? Like there's no I didn't feel that at all.
Or himbos or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. Like at no point did I feel like, okay, that's the obvious slut in the film. That's the obvious prude in the film. No, you don't see that at all in this film.
They were just like typical high school kids.
Yes. And it's one of the things about this movie that I really liked. And the actors, young as they were in this, performed all of their roles really well. But I think Jennifer Jason Leigh is probably the best out of the bunch in this one. I think Sean Penn is the one I like the least. It's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, like, I thought his acting was really good for the role he was playing. Like, I thought it was, like, he played a really good stoner. Like, if I had to, like, have someone play a stoner and I saw him, like, I'd be like, yep, I'd take him again. It just didn't stand out for me.
Right.
Jennifer Jason Leigh, 110%. I also really liked Judge Reinhold.
Judge Reinhold. Show your respect for Judge Reinhold.
Yeah. I really liked him in this film, too. Because he just plays, like, that older brother vibe, and he's just trying to, like, get his shit together, you know?
Yeah. A lot of this film, some might say that this film is still a little tropish, but it does a great job circumnavigating those tropes. You do have the older brother who's more aloof and doesn't want really anything to do with his sister's life. And then you have the player who is kind of a player, but kind of is not a player. It really takes those tropes that a lot of these teen movies have and just says, okay, let's do a new spin with it. Or let's make it much more realistic or much more believable than what most of the teen movies have. Because most teen movies do it very broadly, and they do it like very matter of fact. I just watched The Breakfast Club.
I was just going to say, like, because I've seen The Breakfast Club a long time ago, and like I think this is way better than The Breakfast Club. I agree.
Absolutely. Yeah. I like The Breakfast Club, but they hung on to those tropes like they were hanging on during a hurricane. It was like, oh no, these are nerds, damn it, and this is a jock, and like, I get it.
And this is the bad boy.
This movie doesn't do that, really. I mean, but what it does, it
does it enough. Like, it's like perfect.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Why don't we just get into writing then? Another thing that a lot of teen movies have, or movies set in high schools, they do, is that they try and force a lingo, or they try and force kind of a code or something where...
For that generation.
Right, and this is just what kids do these days. And this movie doesn't really do that. It treats them like human beings. It treats them like...
Like they're turning into adults, which is what they are, because they're in high school.
Exactly. And again, like I said in the performances review, it treats sex and the wanting of sex as something completely natural and not as romantic as usually it is. It's actually more matter of fact. It's kind of not like a carnal need.
It's real.
Yeah. It's not like a carnal need where like, oh my God, we're just gonna like with some movies where they just go ape shit and they tear each other's clothes off.
Or just being like, or turning it into, like you said, like kind of like a slut fest, right? Like,
right. Honestly, Jennifer Jason Leigh's character in this movie, who is portrayed as very sweet, very likable, little naive, but, has those urges. In other teen movies, she'd be the slut. No doubt about
Right,
it. Or
right.
in all honesty, when she would have sex for the first time, it would either be an amazing experience. We had rose petals on the bed,
Yeah, like total
and we
bullshit.
cover the or it would be such a traumatic experience that it would be one of those movies like don't have sex until you're married,
It would go
kids.
dark. Yeah, like it would get dark. She'd get really depressed, and it would be a bad time.
Right. I think the thing that I really like about it treats sex realistically. It's
does.
not over romanticized, but it's not over traumatized. It just shows what it is for these kids.
Right.
And
what a lot of kids experience. Like
yes.
I really related with her character, like when it comes to sex. Like I really did. Like it's like my first time was not glamorous and neither was hers. You know what I mean? Like it's not what it is. Like a lot of parents would say to their kids back in the day, like, wait until you find the one you fall in love with, and like there will be rose petals, or wait till marriage. And it's like, that's not fucking happen. Like we're all horny teenagers. Like, you know what I mean? Like we're just gonna want to like get it over with and then figure it out after. Like
Mom, I can't ask John from the football team to put rose petals on the back of my Cadillac. I'm sorry.
Like they're going to be like, what the fuck? Like, it's not how it works. Like, it's not real. Even my husband's like, I really like this movie because it's not a bunch of bullshit. Like
exactly, and it's why I really liked that because we're like, I'm 40, okay, and I know you're like in your 30s or whatever, like 31,
Monday
32.
I will be 38.
Oh my God, I could never tell sometimes. Like it's like you never age. Anyway.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, no problem. Husband's so lucky, let me tell you. Anyway, so when I watch movies that are basically about sex, especially with teenagers, it comes off weird because I guess with enough with enough experience that I have, A, I know a lot of this is bullshit. And B, if any of this stuff happened, there are not only social ramifications but emotional ramifications that happen in some of these things. And this movie, I think, treats that with that realism, not overly realistic. It's not like it's not. I wouldn't say it's overly realistic. There is a style to it, but it still treats it with a grounding that a lot of sex dramas and comedies just don't have. Especially, well, maybe not these days. I haven't seen a lot of recent sex dramas and comedies, but a lot of the ones I've seen...
Because they're all terrible.
That's possible.
I feel like the newer films are just not as good. I don't know.
But that's kind of a bias that we have as just adults.
Again, our generation, like
right?
What we're used to.
I said this during the review of The Breakfast Club. I think if I saw The Breakfast Club when I was a teenager, I think I would have had a much more positive experience. But when I saw it at 40, I'm like, I'm seeing a lot of the same things I see in these other movies. But again, like,
but then again, we watched this. And this, you're 40, I'll be 38, and this came out in 82, and, like, we thoroughly enjoyed it.
Right. No, absolutely. It's just that I think my feeling is with certain movies, some movies, it depends on the time at which you watch them.
Right.
Like I also watched Watership Down about a couple of years ago. And I said after that to a bunch of people, I wasn't doing reviews at the time, but I said to a bunch of people who knew I saw it, and what I thought was, if I saw this at 13, this would have blown my fucking mind. And do you know what Watership Down is?
No.
Okay, so Watership Down is a British cartoon movie about a bunch of rabbits trying to find a new home. And it is bloody, and it is disturbing.
What the fuck?
It's a
just the description of that, I'm like, what?
It is a very good movie, though. It is a very good movie. But
rabbits. That's so sad.
Look it up. But it was a really good movie. But if I saw it like when I was younger, when I was into cartoons, I was like, oh my God.
You'd be like traumatized.
Yes. But back to Fast Times. Fast Times is a much different caliber of film than I would say the Breakfast Club. But I also think the Breakfast Club does romanticize certain aspects of teen life.
Yeah.
Whereas this movie just does not do that. And I think it's for the better in many circumstances in this movie. There are a lot of things about this movie that I love about this. And the writing is a key thing to it. Because here's the other thing, Kim. Not only is it about sex, okay? but it's not vulgar. It's not crude. It's not
right. It's not like doesn't leave a bad taste in your mouth after the fact.
Yeah, I'm not like embarrassed watching this after this, or if someone will walk in and go, "No, don't close it. Let me pause it. Let me pause it." Like I'm not embarrassed by watching this movie. I saw like some descriptors saying, "Oh, this is like a crude comedy. It's like a vulgar comedy." No, it's not.
No,
it is not. And I think people just say if they talk about sex, it's crude and vulgar, which I disagree. You can talk about sex, and it cannot talk about. You know what? I'm not going to talk about any of that. But yeah, like. But that's the thing that I really like about this movie. It is frank about sex, but it's not overly descriptive, and it's not vulgar.
Right.
Again, another great thing about this movie. My God.
Like they do it very well. I agree.
Let's get into direction. This was directed by Amy Heckerling. I think this was her first movie. I think she did a really good job on this. Here's my feeling about this. This is my theory.
What else has she done? I don't even know her.
She did Clueless.
Oh, yeah, you told me that.
Yeah.
I love Clueless.
She's also did Look Who's Talking. Like, she's done a few good movies.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But,
Okay. We like her.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Here's my thing. I wonder if Amy Heckerling doing what she did in this movie helped create what Cameron Crowe would become as a director. One of the things that...
Maybe.
Because one of the things Heckerling does really well in this movie is not only does she centralize the shots with the characters and does it in a way that is not dehumanizing or doesn't really put them in a poor light, but she also marries it with excellent music. Excellent music.
Yes. Oh my goodness. You bring up a really good point. I didn't even think of that. And then you just said that and I was like, I love the music in this movie. I don't even love 70s or 80s music, but it just fit the film so well. All the different moments and timing.
Absolutely. And that's the thing that Crowe does really well in all of his films, like Jerry Maguire and Almost Famous, and a little bit to Vanilla Sky. We'll ignore Elizabethtown for obvious reasons.
But even in Elizabethtown, he does with the music.
Look, okay. I guess we have to talk about this. Elizabethtown was such a painful experience for me that I kind of forget all the music that was in it.
My God. They have one of the #1 soundtracks.
Okay.
Freebird, and there's I forget the other. There was another really good song in it.
I'm sorry, but when I heard the dialogue, it was like someone stabbing my ear. I'm sorry, Kim.
Oh my God, you suck. Whatever, fuck you.
I think you're glad that we didn't review that movie together. Let's just say
that. Yeah, because you would have bashed it, and I would have just been like, I'm not doing this anymore.
I know that was the third time we were doing reviews, and I'm like, what's your favorite? I was like Elizabethtown. Like, oh no, I forgot. I was like, shit.
I still really do love them. I will.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, you're broadening my horizons.
So what you're saying is eventually you realize that your favorite film is shit. Is that what you're saying?
No. No, I will never feel that way.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. See, this is the part of me that I was telling you about. They're like, oh, but people think I'm obnoxious. That's the obnoxious part.
No, you're fine. No, because I'll just give it right back to you.
Oh, I know you will.
Care.
I know you will.
But it's kind of cool that you really love this film, and it was written by the same person that wrote Elizabethtown.
Yeah.
So, fuck you.
Look, people go downhill. It's just how it happens. You know?
I was waiting for you to say that because Elizabethtown's from 2005.
Right. He did that right after Almost Famous.
Yeah, and I was actually looking at his films, and I mean, you're not wrong with the downhill part after Elizabethtown, but he doesn't really have anything.
No, he's definitely... Yeah. Apparently, from what I've heard, Elizabethtown is not considered his worst film, which is saying something because a lot of people who are into film think it is. It's the film Aloha, I think, is the one that I think has got the worst reviews.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, but anyway, let's get past that.
Sorry, we digress.
Yeah, I know. It happens. But yeah, Heckerling's direction and her decisions on how she not only shot the film, but the music choices and the way that she had the characters look and feel throughout the film, I think was expertly done. It is probably one of the best interpretations I've seen filmed of teenage life. Period. I think with the sole exception of Dazed and Confused. Like, this is the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Dazed and Confused, but I think I kind of like this more.
But I can definitely see why. Like, Dazed and Confused is more of, maybe not like a mood piece, but it is more of a snapshot in time. Whereas this movie is clearly about, again, it could be a snapshot in time, but it's really more about these characters growing. And it's got a purpose to it. Whereas I think Dazed and Confused is more like a time and place movie.
Right,
you know, let's get into spoilers. We're going to go into spoilers into Fast Times at Ridgemont High, directed by Amy Heckerling. If you have not seen it, stop and come back when you're ready. We'll get into spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Where do we want to start? The big one for me is the abortion. That's the big one.
Okay, so I was expecting an abortion to happen in the movie, but I was going to think it was going to be with the adult that she slept with when she was pretending to be 19.
Well, my thing was like, how does she not know that it wasn't with him?
Here's the thing, though. The movie doesn't designate time jumps until it shows significant things. Like in the beginning of the movie, it's clearly in September. And then by, I think, the abortion thing that happened, it was after December. So if she was pregnant by that one guy that she had sex with at the...
Oh, you're right, because they showed, like, the Christmas scenes and stuff like that.
It's very subtle.
Yeah, she would have been showing if she was pregnant by that guy. Okay,
right.
Yeah, that makes sense. At first I was like, well, how do we not know it was him? And when you just said that just totally... That makes sense.
They would do it very subtly. Because it did feel like at times... where, like, is this the same day? Is this around the same time?
Yeah, it was a little bit hard to decipher.
But also you have to remember, this is in L.A. This is in California.
Yeah.
So the middle
it's always
scene...
warm.
Yeah, so the middle scene where they were in the pool, I think was probably in...
like January,
February, March, probably?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like right after Christmas.
The abortion scene didn't surprise me. Like, or her having to get an abortion didn't surprise me.
No, not at all, because I'm like, dude, where's the condoms in this movie? Like, there's like no condoms.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on here?
Well, coitus interruptus, baby. That's how you do it.
Yeah, I know. It's just like,
there you go.
And then I'm like, what, do they not have condoms in the 80s? Like, what's going on here?
No, baby, only sailors use condoms.
Yeah, like, I was like, what the heck? I also like how they did the abortion scenes.
Yes.
Because I feel like that is how that shit really happens.
It would have been over-dramatized to death in other teen movies. It would have been like, it was like, oh my God, I'm having to have an abortion. And like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I bet that is a traumatizing thing to go through.
It is.
But what I've seen from some women who've had to deal with it is that it's a matter of fact, you have to do it, or else, you know, the rest of your life is going to change. And if I get too attached to it, it's just going to hurt more.
Especially to like, she was in the movie, she's 15.
Yes.
Like, especially at that age, like 15 is pretty young. I mean, obviously I would never name any names, but like I knew of somebody that had to go through something similar. And like, it was similar to her, the way that they portrayed it in the movie. The parents didn't know. Instead of a brother, she had friends dropping her off, picking her up. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't even know if they know to this day. You know, like, it's just, it was very hush hush. Like, I mean, I don't know how it is nowadays, obviously, because I've never gone through it. But, you know, you see on TV, there's like 16 and pregnant TV shows and like different things like that, where it's like, it's almost like it was becoming a little bit more acceptable in society to be young and pregnant. Whereas like in the 80s, like, I mean, I don't know, maybe it was frowned upon, but for anyone to have to go through that, I think it, like you said, like a lot of movies over dramatize it and make it this big traumatic thing. And it is traumatic, but it doesn't feel that like you don't show that when you're going through it. Right. Like, you're just like, I need to get this done because it's something I have to do because of my age.
It seems like something that women would internalize more.
Yes.
And it would eat them up in the inside.
And that's how they, like, that's kind of how they portray this, where, and like, she doesn't cry in the film. She tells her best friend, and the best friend's like, well, fuck you, you fucking prick. Like, I'm gonna kill this guy. And I was like, yes, this is literally how that shit happens. Like,
but let's get into that part too, because I think another thing about this part of the movie that I think they did a really good job in this is that Yes. What the guy did, which was Mike, who was played by Robert Romanus.
Who I really liked in this,
yes.
by the way.
He did a very fucked up thing. He promised that he would not only pay half for the abortion, but he would take her to the clinic to get it done.
Yeah.
He not only did not pay her, he also then blew her off and said that he's working in the garage with his father. He won't be able to come out and hang out.
And he didn't even tell her that. She called the house and the mother picked up the phone and told her that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So he did a awful thing with that.
Right.
But what the movie did as well that I really liked, because at that point you would villainize this guy to death and he would have horns on his face.
Yes, I like how they did this too. Yeah. Go on.
So what they did in this movie is that, yes, the two girls admonished him. And then on top of that, I'm pretty sure it was Phoebe Cates' character who wrote all this shit on his locker
like on
and on his car. And I'm like,
his car said like prick. And then he like put like a piece of cardboard over it.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, okay. I'm there for it. Cool. Of course, no one knew about it because they wanted to keep it hush-hush. Right. So all people knew at that point was that him and the other girl fooled around, and he blew her off, which then pissed off his friend, who was played by Brian Becker, I think. It was Brian Becker, right?
Yeah.
Who is really into, or Brian Becker.
He's the nice guy.
Yeah.
He's the nice guy in the film.
Yeah. So
Sweetheart.
he's really into Stacy, who's Jennifer Jason Leigh's character.
Yeah.
Who's just nervous about sex. Something a little personal. Something I really identified with when I was in high school. Like, I was not a one of those guys who was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pound pussy every day. Like, I was not like that at all in high school.
Did you just make like a pussy pounding sound with your fist?
And my hand, like.
Oh.
Like that.
What the hell was that noise? Yeah, no. Like,
are you asking me if I'm actually pounding pussy as we speak?
No. I was just like, whoa, that was weird. Anyways.
But I really identify with that character. It's like, oh my God, that was me back then. Holy shit. And I think that's one of the...
I knew you were going to identify with him.
Wow, is I really that nerdy? Ouch! Wow! Wow. Okay.
Well, no, like I just figured you would, because you always tell me like that's the type of person you were.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. But I think that's another great testament of the great writing of this movie is that it's so
real. Like you can relate.
Yeah, you can relate and you can identify with certain characters. So yeah, that was me. There's pieces of me in there that I definitely identify with. What it definitely also showed with that one character is that it wasn't that he was being sneeringly evil. He was scared. He was mortified.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. Like, and I love how they did that. Like, you know, he's walking down, they go to school the next day and he's walking down the hallway and she's like, hey, like Mike, like da-da-da-da. And he's just like, yeah, no, I can't hang out with you. Like, basically like, I'm busy. Like, he just totally giving her the cold shoulder. 'Cause he's really upset. Well, and he doesn't want that macho vibe to come off as being upset.
But he also regretted doing it, which is another thing that they don't show in these movies, especially with the guy. With the woman, yes, they will show until they're blue in the face, I shouldn't have had sex with Johnny.
Right.
But with guys, it's like, notch another one on that list, baby.
She needs to take care of that. Like, not my problem. Yeah.
Right. But they don't show it like that in this movie, which is much more realistic with most people how they are. Some guys do regret having sex with some women. It happens. It does.
I mean, I believe it.
Do you?
Yeah.
You don't think we're all just like pigs who are like, just...
I mean, the majority, but not all.
That's kind of true, actually.
No. I mean, I think that's why I really liked his character.
Mm-hmm. The performance that Robert Romanus did in this movie really, I think, showed a lot more depth than I was really expecting from that type of character. Because again, in these types of movies, they're much more broad. It's like, oh, this is obviously the asshole. This is obviously the nerd.
Right.
But he is portrayed as, in the beginning, like a friend of Rat's. Right. Who is just like trying to get his confidence
He's like
up.
The slick one. Like he's the one that's like, he's scalping tickets for like young kids. And he's, like you said, he's trying to like almost like mentor this other guy who is Rat to, make the move, be confident, like really like be in your skin and ask this freaking girl out, and then he's basically steals her because the girl's interested in him because he's got that confidence. But for him, it's just kind of like, okay, I'll have sex with her because she's there, know.
And again, he later regretted it. It wasn't that he regretted it too after he found out she was pregnant. He regretted it right after because you're like, yeah, I gotta go.
Like right after they had sex, he was just like, I gotta get out of here, and throws his clothes on and leaves. And poor girl's just laying there like, what did I do?
Yeah.
And again, it sounds terrible, but that's something that I can relate to as a woman that age, around that age, not that age, but around that age. Sometimes, and then, and maybe some of the guys I had been with, had felt that same way and I didn't know, because they don't talk about it. Guys don't always show their emotions, especially to women.
No, not at all.
They're embarrassed.
Nope.
So.
Not at all. I think another thing that I really liked about this movie is that a lot of these types of movies, I think Lady Bird did this too. Lady Bird.
I love that movie.
Lady Bird is a good movie. I do like Lady Bird. I thought that was written very well. But it goes through the same kind of tropes that most of them do, which is basically goes from beginning of school year to end of school year. So you have to have the homecoming dance. You have to have the X dance. You have to have prom. You have to have graduation. And this film had none of that.
It only had one dance.
And I don't even think it was. It wasn't.
And it
prom.
wasn't that long. Yeah.
No, and it wasn't prom either. I think it was. What was it?
It was
called?
like the end of the year dance or something.
Right. So it circumnavigated those tropes as well to a certain extent. So
Which is
I like
because there's no prom king and queen and all that shit. Yeah.
Right. I like that. I like that a lot actually. That it. I like so much about this movie.
Yeah, it is a very good. So I really enjoyed the comedic part when the teacher shows up at his house. I thought that was pretty funny. I was like, that's probably one of the better humorous parts of this movie.
Yeah, and Mr. Hand reminded me of the principal of the Breakfast Club. Only in the Breakfast Club, the principal was very clearly an arrogant asshole who just loved to piss off his students and treat them like shit. Whereas Mr. Hand, I didn't really, first off, terrible name, but but with Mr. Hand, I just felt like, I don't think he was just trying to be an asshole.
I think he really wanted his students to learn.
Right. And it shows in those end scenes as well with Spicoli and him going to his house and doing that test.
I just love how he's like, you wasted 8 hours of my time this semester, so now I'm going to waste 8 hours of yours. I'm like, this is great. I'm like, the way they wrote this is just hilarious. And then he's just looking around his room at all these naked chicks on the wall, and he's shaking his head. I'm like, oh, this is so what an adult would be like, It's just funny. Yeah,
absolutely. We do have to talk about the most famous scene in the film. That's the one in the pool with Phoebe Cates.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes.
So I get why
she is stunning. I was like, wow, she's gorgeous.
Am I allowed to say that? I mean, she's still quite young in this movie.
I mean, she is, but
she's a very pretty girl. Yeah.
Well, you don't have to be she's freaking hot. Just be she's attractive. She is. She's attractive.
No, yeah, she's very attractive. Yeah. No, don't get me. I definitely think she is. I don't know. I get to a certain age, and when it comes to kids when it gets to kids that young, it just turned off for me. I was I used to have friends who were still in their 30s. I'm like, man, if I were 19, I would you're not, so shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that's I guess I can understand that.
But no, she is very, very, she is an attractive young woman. Yes, in this movie, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's just keep it to that end. But what I will say about Phoebe Cates in this movie, when that scene would happen in other movies, and this is the same thing I'm going to keep saying over and over again, in a teen movie, when that would happen in that movie, she would obviously be
the slut.
The slut. But because it was in a dream sequence, and it was because Judge Reinhold's character was masturbating about her, it made contextual sense.
It was so funny.
Yeah. But it was also real because,
so real. That is what young boys do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They would have that exact same dreams. Like, I love you, Brad. Rip. It's like, oh, yes, Cindy.
Yeah, like, it's just, I was like, this is just so funny.
Absolutely. And I think the main thing we're going to get here is it 100% realistic? No. It's not. But it conveys a
It's not a documentary. Like,
well, yeah. You know? Right. But I guess what I'm trying to say, it conveys a real feeling that I remember having when I was around that age.
But the cool thing is like, so when were you in high school? Like the 90s?
96 to 2001.
Yeah, and I was in high school
98 to 2003.
Yeah, 98 to 2003. And like, we're going into the 2000s at that point, and like, we still have that feeling about this movie. So it's just got such longevity to it. You know what I mean? Like, it's relatable I feel like in any year, really.
It's timeless. It is utterly
Yes, that's
timeless.
the word I was looking for.
It is a movie that, yes, it is set in the 80s. Yes, it has all these things that if you're a kid in like 2010, 2020s, you're looking at it and going, wait, you had to write your phone number down in order to give it to them? You
Yeah, that's like the only thing that they would question.
Or
but
like,
when it comes to them, you know, but when
or people would just walk around without shirts on? Really?
Yeah.
Really?
But when it comes to them having sex and making their first move, like, it's 110% similar.
Absolutely. Like, it speaks to, and this is where I'm going to get hoity-toity. So let's just prepare yourself here.
Okay, here we go.
Miss Shactman, it speaks to a higher truth and a higher understanding of the carnal needs of a young American teenager, both of the male and feminine persuasion.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to say it like that, but hey, it's all good.
Okay, so let me put let me just put it in layman's terms. It really talks about the realistic wants, needs, desires, and feelings of teenagers at any point. It just so happens to be in the 80s.
Yes.
And I think it's utterly brilliant. I think it is a great movie.
I'm so happy you liked it.
Oh,
usually you're like, meh. Okay. Everything's like, meh.
Okay. You want to get into this? Let's get into final thoughts. Kim, you go first.
No, you go first. I want to hear.
Damn it, I'm the host. No, kidding.
You listen to me, woman. No. You go first.
If your husband doesn't do that, there's no damn way I'm going to do that to you. Fine. As the man in this group.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. You like that? I'll go first.
Go for it.
That's the first time I've ever heard a woman say that. Okay. My final thoughts on Fast Times at Ridgemont High. God damn it. You're too much. Okay. We went over everything in this review. This is an excellent movie that I think, honestly, if I were to really dive into it, I think really cemented the style of which Cameron Crowe makes his movies. It is written very smartly. It's written in a realistic manner. The performances are excellent in this movie. The tropes that were used in this movie are circumnavigated throughout the entire film, giving this not just realistic feel, but a lived-in feel that is easy for someone to actually see themselves in. I can really dig in and find a couple faults in this movie, but the vast majority of this film is of a higher quality that I wish I would get out of movies about adults. I think that's the thing about this movie that really had a profound effect on me after I watched it. I told you at the beginning, before we recorded this, that after I watched the movie, I thought it was really good. I was like, wow, that's a very good movie. Yeah. But the mark of I think an outstanding movie is something that after I watch it, I'm still thinking about it. And when I'm thinking about it, I'm trying to think, well, no, that worked. But did this work? No, that worked. And then, oh my God, what the hell? Like, it's
all working. Everything's in play, you know?
I watched this at 4 p.m. yesterday. It is now 12 o'clock the next day. And I still have not a bad thing to say about this movie.
Right.
It is an excellent movie. And if you have not seen it, Whether you're an adult, whether you're a teenager, you should see it. It is the second best movie about teenage life that I have ever seen. I'm going to give a slight bump to Dazed and Confused, but man, it's like 1A and 1B. I'm giving it 4.5 stars out of 5. I think it is an excellent movie, and I utterly enjoyed this movie. And I'm glad I own it, but I feel like I want to watch it again pretty soon. 4.5 stars out of 5 for me for Fast Times at Ridgemont High. A movie that I've heard was really good, but still surprised me by how great it is.
I'm 4.5. Wow. I was like, oh, is he going to give it a 5? I was like, waiting.
No, 5. No. Okay. 5 I give after a certain amount of time after I review it the first time.
So maybe in like 10 years, we'll have to do this one again.
Yeah.
See what
something
he
along
says.
those lines. Sure.
I'm just waiting for a 5. Guess I'll be waiting for a long time.
But the rating doesn't matter. Like I
know.
Yeah.
I really loved this movie too. At first, I was kind of like you. At first, I was kind of like, oh, I like it. I really like it. Like, it was really well done. But it kind of stays with you. Like, even though it doesn't mean to, it still does. And I really related with Jennifer Jason Leigh's character, and I felt that it was so well done. And it's just a real movie. Like, it's just real. And I was so excited when you mentioned the word timeless, because that's literally how I describe this movie. Like, anyone can watch it, teenager, adults, even an elderly person. Like, you could watch this movie and just be like, oh my God, I had similar experiences when I was in high school. And that's what makes it enjoyable and relatable and just timeless. Again, I think the marketing fools you a little bit with Sean Penn, but it's once you start watching it, you're like, oh wow, like, there's some really good stuff in here. There's some really good characters and some really great writing and some amazingly timed music, right? Like, it just works. I don't want to like copy you, but I was going to give it a 4.5 anyway.
Go ahead.
Not to mention Cameron Crowe is the writer who did Elizabethtown after you pointed that out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, should I give it a 5? But no, it was a really good film. And I would definitely watch it again. Highly recommend.
An amazing movie, especially like teen movies nowadays. It's hard to identify with them because you can't identify with the teenagers of today because you're not living their life. So you don't know exactly what this distinct difference that you had in your high school that they're having right now. You can extrapolate to certain things when it comes to it, but you'll never really know what exactly it is to be in their shoes, which I think a lot of adults need to really put in their heads when they start actually commenting on these kids and why they do certain things
and judging them. It's like...
Right. Something I'm guilty of too at times. I will freely admit
me
that.
too. I'm just like, these little punks are like little shits all the time. And
I call my nephew a little punk all the time.
Yeah.
I do it out of love.
Yeah, and then you look and you're just like, look at all the shit they're doing. I mean, we didn't have all the friggin' technology that's out now.
No.
And like all the cyberbullying and stuff that they have to deal with. Like, I'm thankful that we didn't have that.
No.
We had other things, but it's just like now, like they can record something and it's everywhere and it doesn't go away.
I was an awkward kid in high school. I wasn't hated and I wasn't made fun of a lot, but I was a very awkward kid. I can only imagine how much my life would be held with social media if I did.
Yeah. And that was me too. Like I wasn't like super popular. Like I was fine, but I wasn't bullied or anything. I just had my own little clique of people and that's who I kind of stayed with. But anyways.
I guess another thing I just figured out when we were talking about this as well, I mean, this is a perfect movie to show adults too about what the possible things that kids can get into and everything. God, there's so many great things about this movie. 4.5 stars for both me and Kim on Fast Times at Ridgemont High. If you have not seen it and you're looking at it, go, it's a teen movie, whatever. No, give it a shot.
Or if it's been a while since you've seen it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Definitely give it a shot. So 4.5 stars out of 5 for me and Kim on Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Okay, Kim. So we are at the end of the episode. So we are going to get down to what we're watching next week. Kim, it was your turn this week. What are you watching for next week?
We are watching Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock.
That's right, the 1960 horror classic from Alfred Hitchcock, Psycho, starring Anthony Perkins, Janet Leigh, Vera Miles, and John Gavin. No, we are not watching the Gus Van Sant version. Oh my God.
I've never seen this movie, so I'm pretty excited about it. And, Wiz was talking about how he's a little bit on like a sci-fi / horror kick this week. So I was like, oh, let's watch this. And I was like, I want to see something from Alfred Hitchcock. And he was like, oh my God, you're like turning into me. And I'm like, let's not go that far.
Wait, but you said, yeah, probably. Wait, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Whoa. Okay. First off, you film shaming me is not right. Okay?
I'm sorry.
Secondly, that's okay. Secondly, that's not exactly how that turned out. You're like, oh yeah, I kind of am. I think great.
Kinda. I mean, yeah, I guess. Like, I'm starting to dig into, older directors and writers and all that stuff.
But that's the thing that I like about doing something like this is because these movies aren't scary or they're not boring or they're not foreign. They do speak to something that is still relevant today. It just so happens to be in black and white sometimes, or it has older actors, or maybe the technology isn't as up to date as it used to be. But there's still great stories, and I think that's what I like about doing this with you and Zero is because both of you had your own kind of biases of what you would prefer to watch, and I'm just putting a crowbar to it and go, no, you're eating this now. Like,
or like, I guess we have to.
But like, I'm offering.
But now I'm picking them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
like, I am thrilled with this. Like, I saw Psycho. Okay, so here's the dirty secret I have. The first version of Psycho I saw was the Gus Van Sant version. And that was the one with Vince Vaughn. And I came out of that going, why?
like, what?
Yeah, like, this is it? And the person I saw it goes, wait, did you not see the Alfred Hitchcock version? I'm like, no. I'm like, oh my God. Why didn't you tell me we would have done that first?
Didn't they have like a TV show of it too?
Bates Motel is the prequel to that.
I think I seen like a couple episodes of that. And it was okay, but I just didn't follow through with it. I was like, eh.
I was the same. I had the visceral reaction of when I heard about that going, oh, why? And I was still kind of stunned it lasted as long as it did. I saw a few episodes and it was fine. That was okay. Yeah, all right. But
this movie by Alfred Hitchcock has an 8.5 rating on IMDb, so I was like, ooh.
Yeah, it's something else. So tune in next week where me and Kim review Psycho, starring Anthony Perkins and Janet Leigh, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. I am The Wiz.
And I am Kim Shactman.
And we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.